The 1970s were a turbulent decade for the American automotive industry. A combination of rising fuel costs, stricter emissions regulations, and misguided designs led to the production of some truly questionable cars. Here's a look at 10 of the stupidest and worst cars that came out of America in the 1970s.
Dear viewer, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your support.
Number 10. The 1970 Ford Torino 429. Cobra Jet was a powerful muscle car, but it had several drawbacks that contributed to its less-than-stellar reputation. The Torino 429 Cobra Jet was significantly more expensive than other muscle cars of its time. While it offered strong performance, the high price tag put it out of reach for many buyers who could find similar or better performance at a lower cost from competitors like the Plymouth Roadrunner or Chevrolet Chevelle SS. The steep price made it a niche choice, attracting only those willing to pay a premium for its 429 cubic-inch V8 engine. This limited its popularity compared to more affordable options in the muscle car market. Despite its power, the 429 Cobra Jet engine was known to have reliability issues. It required frequent maintenance and care, and many owners reported problems with overheating, oil leaks, and engine wear. Particularly if the car was driven hard, something muscle car buyers often did. The car's transmission, especially when paired with the high-powered engine, was prone to failure under the strain of heavy acceleration and aggressive driving, further adding to its reputation for being unreliable. The massive 429 V8 engine added significant weight to the front of the car, making it nose-heavy. This unbalanced weight distribution negatively affected the car's handling, particularly in corners, making it difficult to control at high speeds. The Torino's suspension was not up to the task of managing the car's weight and power. As a result, it suffered from body roll, making it feel unstable and sluggish, especially when compared to more nimble competitors. The big block engine, while powerful, was notoriously fuel inefficient, which became a growing concern as the 1970s progressed. The Torino 429 Cobra Jet's abysmal fuel economy made it impractical for regular use, especially during a time when gasoline prices were starting to rise. In the muscle car era, the Ford Torino 429 Cobra Jet faced tough competition from iconic models like the Dodge Charger, Chevrolet Chevelle SS, and Pontiac GTO. These competitors offered similar or superior performance with better handling and reliability, making the Torino a less attractive choice for many buyers. The Mustang was Ford's flagship muscle car, and despite the Torino's powerful engine, it was often overlooked in favor of the Mustang, which had a more iconic status and a larger following. While the Torino packed a lot of power under the hood, its weight meant that it didn't always translate into better performance. It was quick in a straight line, but its heavy frame and handling deficiencies made it less competitive on winding roads or racetracks. The car's size and weight also contributed to its poor braking performance, which was a serious drawback for a high-powered muscle car. Drivers often found the brakes inadequate for stopping the heavy Torino after high-speed runs. The 1970 Ford Torino 429 Cobra Jet had the muscle car credentials, but its high cost, reliability issues, and poor handling due to its weight made it less practical and desirable compared to its competitors. While it had strong straight-line performance, its drawbacks in handling, fuel efficiency, and maintenance made it a tough sell, leading it to be overshadowed by more balanced and reliable muscle cars of the era. Number 9. The 1974 Cadillac Cala was intended to be Cadillac's entry-level luxury car, but it failed to live up to the brand's reputation for elegance and innovation. Like many full-sized American cars of the 1970s, the Cadillac Cala was excessively heavy. Weighing over 5,000 pounds, its bulk made it sluggish on the road and difficult to handle, especially compared to more modern luxury cars that were beginning to focus on performance and refinement. The early 1970s saw the onset of the oil crisis, and the Cala, with its massive V8 engine, was a notorious gas guzzler. It averaged very poor fuel economy, making it impractical for everyday use at a time when fuel efficiency was becoming more important to consumers. By 1974, the Cala design felt outdated. While it carried the trademark Cadillac look with its massive grille and boxy profile, it lacked the innovation and styling updates seen in its competitors. The Cala was conservative to the point of being bland, with little to distinguish it from cheaper and more practical full-size cars. Unlike higher-end Cadillac models, the Cala was stripped of many of the luxury features buyers expected. It had fewer options for customization, less advanced technology, and overall felt less prestigious than the Cadillac brand promised. Despite having a large engine, the Cala's performance was far from impressive. Emissions regulations had choked the power of its once potent V8, leaving the 1974 Cala with a heavy body and an engine that couldn't deliver the kind of acceleration or driving experience that luxury car buyers expected. The Cala was known for its poor handling, especially in tight turns or at higher speeds. Its soft suspension, while offering a comfortable ride, made it feel floaty and imprecise, which was at odds with the growing consumer demand for more agile luxury vehicles. The Cala was often seen as a stripped-down version of Cadillac's other models like the DeVille or Eldorado. It didn't have any standout features or unique styling elements to set it apart, making it feel more like a basic, budget-friendly option rather than a true Cadillac. For many buyers, the slight price savings weren't worth sacrificing the additional luxury features offered by higher-end Cadillacs. Part of Cadillac's appeal was the prestige of owning a high-end luxury vehicle, but the Cala didn't exude the same level of sophistication. It lacked the chrome detailing, high-end interiors, and advanced technology that were hallmarks of the Cadillac name. The Cala was often overshadowed by the more popular and luxurious Cadillac models like the DeVille and Fleetwood. Buyers who wanted a Cadillac were more likely to invest in these higher-end models, while those looking for value or fuel efficiency often turned to more affordable alternatives from other brands. By the mid-1970s, European luxury brands like Mercedes-Benz and BMW were making significant inroads into the American market. These cars offered more modern styling, better handling, and improved efficiency, making the Cala seem old-fashioned and less competitive. The Cala also suffered from being part of Cadillac's larger decline during the 1970s. As the brand tried to shift towards smaller, more efficient vehicles in the wake of the fuel crisis, its larger models like the Cala felt like relics of a bygone era, poorly positioned for the changing market. The 1974 Cadillac Cala was a big, underwhelming car that failed to live up to the Cadillac name. Its heavy, inefficient design, lack of luxury features, and unimpressive performance made it feel like a compromise rather than a true luxury vehicle. Overshadowed by both better Cadillac models and more modern competitors, the Cala quickly faded into obscurity, unable to compete in a rapidly changing automotive landscape. Number 8. The 1975 Chevrolet Nova SS represented a significant decline from the muscle car status it once enjoyed. The Nova SS was once known for its powerful V8 engines that offered impressive performance. However, by 1975, emissions regulations in the oil crisis had taken a toll on power output. The SS package came with an available 350 cubic inch V8, but it was severely detuned to produce only about 145 horsepower. This was a far cry from the 300-plus horsepower that earlier Novas boasted, leaving enthusiasts disappointed. The once thrilling muscle car had become sluggish. The Nova SS no longer offered the acceleration and aggressive driving experience that muscle car fans expected, making it feel more like a regular, underperforming sedan. The 1970s saw a shift away from high-performance muscle cars toward more practical, fuel-efficient vehicles due to rising fuel costs and stricter emission standards. The Nova SS, like many other muscle cars, struggled to maintain relevance in this new era. Buyers were more concerned with fuel economy than performance, and the Nova SS failed to adapt successfully to these changes. Muscle car fans in the mid-1970s had fewer options as many manufacturers toned down their offerings. The Nova SS in particular couldn't compete with cars like the Ford Mustang or Pontiac Firebird, which still had stronger identities as performance-oriented vehicles. By 1975, the Nova SS had lost much of the aggressive styling that had made it stand out in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The design was more conservative, with a focus on practicality rather than performance aesthetics. The SS badging and a few cosmetic upgrades were the only clues that this was supposed to be a sporty model, but it didn't look the part. The Nova's boxy, sedan-like shape did little to convey the excitement of a performance car. It had become just another small car on the road, with none of the visual flair that once made it a symbol of American muscle. The SS package was supposed to be the high-performance version of the Nova, but with its lackluster engine and minimal performance upgrades, it wasn't worth the extra cost. Buyers who wanted true performance for their money were better off looking elsewhere. Given its underpowered engine and bland styling, the Nova SS didn't offer much in terms of value. It was hard to justify paying more for the SS package when it didn't deliver the performance or excitement that the badge once promised. The Nova SS had built a strong reputation as a muscle car in the late 1960s, but by 1975, that reputation was severely tarnished. Enthusiasts who had fond memories of earlier models were disappointed by the watered-down version that the SS had become, further damaging its appeal. The mid-1970s marked the end of the muscle car era, and the Nova SS failed to maintain the support of car enthusiasts. It was no longer a vehicle that performance-minded drivers aspired to own. While the Nova SS was floundering, other vehicles in Chevrolet's lineup, like the Camaro, were still more exciting to drive and retained some of their muscle car appeal. The Nova SS, on the other hand, was overshadowed by its own sibling models and other sportier cars on the market. Other automakers, like Ford and Pontiac, were adapting to the changing automotive landscape with smaller, more efficient, yet still sporty models. The Nova SS failed to make the same transition, making it less appealing to buyers looking for either performance or efficiency. The 1975 Chevrolet Nova SS was a shadow of its former self, with its once powerful engine neutered by emissions regulations and a lack of innovation. The result was an underpowered, uninspired vehicle that failed to excite muscle car enthusiasts and struggled to compete with both its competitors and its own history. Its bland styling and weak performance made it one of the more forgettable entries in Chevrolet's lineup during the mid-1970s. Number 7. The 1973 Mercury Montego struggled for several reasons, which ultimately contributed to its poor reputation. The Montego was a large and heavy car, typical of American full-size cars of the early 1970s. However, this bulkiness resulted in poor handling and performance. It felt sluggish on the road, especially compared to lighter, more agile vehicles of the time. While Mercury tried to position the Montego as an upscale vehicle, its design was seen as bland and uninspired. The car had a boxy appearance that lacked the style or elegance to stand out in a competitive market. As a result, it didn't capture much attention or admiration from buyers. Like many cars from the early 1970s, the Montego suffered from poor fuel efficiency. With rising fuel prices during the oil crisis of the mid-1970s, its reputation as a gas guzzler made it less attractive to buyers who were becoming more conscious of fuel consumption. The timing of the Montego's release was unfortunate, as it came out just as the market was beginning to shift towards smaller, more fuel-efficient cars. The Montego's large, inefficient engine wasn't appealing to consumers looking for practical and economical options. The Montego was plagued with various mechanical issues, including problems with its suspension, brakes, and electrical systems. These frequent breakdowns contributed to a reputation for being unreliable, which discouraged potential buyers and hurt its long-term appeal. The car was known for inconsistent build quality, with many owners reporting that it felt cheaply made. Rattles, squeaks, and other issues with the fit and finish of the interior and exterior added to its negative reputation. While the Montego offered a range of engine choices, none of them provided the kind of performance that drivers expected from a car of its size. The base engines were underpowered, making the car feel sluggish and unresponsive, while the larger engines were inefficient without delivering significant gains in speed or acceleration. Even with a larger engine option, the Montego struggled with acceleration and felt unrefined in terms of overall driving experience. Its handling was imprecise, making it less enjoyable to drive compared to more performance-oriented cars of the era. The Montego failed to stand out against competitors like the Chevrolet Chevelle, Pontiac Le Mans, and Dodge Charger, which were better regarded for their style, performance, or innovation. These cars were either more exciting to drive, had better styling, or were more fuel efficient, leaving the Montego as a less desirable option. The Mercury Montego shared its platform with the Ford Torino, which was a more popular and better received car. The Torino offered similar features but had a stronger brand presence and was marketed more effectively, which left the Montego in its shadow. By 1973, the design language of American cars was starting to evolve, but the Montego clung to a more traditional, bulky appearance that felt dated. Its lack of forward-thinking design choices failed to appeal to the growing number of buyers looking for something more modern and sleek. The 1973 Mercury Montego was a product of its time, but failed to adapt to changing consumer preferences. Its bulky, slow, and inefficient nature, combined with mechanical problems and uninspired styling, made it an unpopular choice in a competitive market. With better options available from both Ford and competing brands, the Montego quickly faded into obscurity. Number 6. In the 1971 AMC Ambassador struggled for several key reasons that contributed to its poor reputation and lackluster sales. By the early 1970s, the Ambassador's design had become dated. Its boxy, conservative look felt out of step with the more modern and sleeker designs coming from competitors. It lacked the flair or excitement that buyers were seeking in cars at the time. AMC made few significant changes to the Ambassador's design over the years, resulting in a model that looked stale compared to more innovative vehicles from other brands. This reluctance to evolve with the market led to a lack of enthusiasm among potential buyers. Like many full-sized American cars of the era, the Ambassador was large and heavy, which contributed to poor fuel efficiency. With the oil crisis looming, consumers were becoming more conscious of fuel consumption, and the Ambassador's gas-guzzling nature was a major drawback. The car's large size was increasingly seen as a disadvantage. The trend in the early 1970s was shifting towards smaller, more economical vehicles, but the Ambassador clung to its full-size roots, making it less attractive to buyers who wanted more practical options. AMC didn't push the boundaries with the Ambassador's engineering, which left it feeling unremarkable in terms of performance and technology. It wasn't offering anything new or exciting to set it apart from the competition. While the Ambassador was available with a variety of V8 engines, none of them delivered exceptional performance for a car of its size. The car felt underpowered, especially when compared to other full-size sedans with more powerful and responsive engines. Due to its size and weight, the Ambassador had sluggish handling and poor maneuverability. It wasn't a car that inspired confidence on the road, especially for buyers who were looking for a smoother, more refined driving experience. Despite being marketed as a more upscale model, the Ambassador's ride quality wasn't up to par with other luxury or near-luxury cars of the time. It wasn't as comfortable or composed on the road, further reducing its appeal. The full-size car market in the early 1970s was crowded with strong contenders from Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler, all of which offered more stylish, better performing, and more fuel-efficient models. The AMC Ambassador simply couldn't compete on any of these fronts. AMC as a brand was known more for its economy cars like the Rambler or its quirky, unique models like the Gremlin and the AMX. The Ambassador didn't fit well into AMC's lineup and struggled to capture the attention of buyers who were more inclined toward bigger brands with stronger reputations for full-size cars. The Ambassador was priced similarly to its competitors, but didn't offer enough to justify the cost. It lacked the features, style, and refinement that buyers expected in a full-size car at that price point. AMC attempted to position the Ambassador as a more upscale option in its lineup, but the execution fell flat. It didn't offer the level of luxury or innovation needed to compete with the true luxury models from other manufacturers. The 1971 AMC Ambassador was a car that felt stuck in the past. Its outdated styling, inefficient size, lack of innovation, and underwhelming performance made it uncompetitive in a market that was evolving towards smaller, more economical, and more exciting cars. As a result, the Ambassador failed to attract buyers, and its uninspired design quickly became irrelevant in the rapidly changing automotive landscape of the 1970s. Number 5. The 1978 Oldsmobile Starfire struggled for several reasons, contributing to its poor reputation and lackluster sales. The Starfire, despite its sporty intentions, was underpowered, especially when compared to more muscular cars of the era. Its available engines didn't deliver the kind of performance that buyers expected from a sporty car, with acceleration and overall driving experience feeling sluggish. While marketed as a sporty compact car, the Starfire's handling and performance didn't live up to its image. It wasn't fun to drive, and its handling was considered uninspired, leaving enthusiasts disappointed. The Starfire was considered overpriced for what it offered. Competitors offered more power, better styling, and superior features at a similar or lower price point, making the Starfire a tough sell. With its lackluster performance and subpar interior quality, buyers felt that they weren't getting enough for their money. This perception of poor value hurt the Starfire's competitiveness in the market. The Starfire's interior was a major weak point. It featured cheap materials and a lack of refinement, with plastic components and a basic, uninspiring design. It didn't offer the level of comfort or luxury that buyers expected, especially at its price point. Compared to other cars in its class, the Starfire's interior felt bare and lacking in modern conveniences. The absence of advanced features and upscale finishes made it feel outdated and unappealing. The Starfire was competing in a crowded market segment with rivals like the Ford Mustang II and the Chevrolet Camaro. These cars offered better styling, more powerful engines, and a stronger brand presence, leaving the Starfire struggling to keep up. The Starfire didn't have a strong identity to set it apart from the competition. It was overshadowed by more iconic and better executed sporty compact cars, making it easy for buyers to overlook it. Like many GM cars of the late 1970s, the Starfire suffered from reliability and build quality problems. Owners frequently reported mechanical issues, adding to its poor reputation for dependability. Rust was a common problem for many cars of the era, and the Starfire was no exception. This further detracted from its appeal as buyers became wary of its long-term durability. The Starfire's design was relatively bland compared to its competitors. It didn't have the aggressive or sleek look that buyers wanted from a sporty compact, and its appearance failed to leave a lasting impression. While it had some sporty elements, the overall proportions of the Starfire didn't strike the right balance, leading to an awkward and less attractive design compared to more stylish competitors. The 1978 Oldsmobile Starfire was a disappointing entry into the sporty compact car market. Its underpowered performance, cheap interior, and high price made it uncompetitive against rivals that offered better value, style, and performance. The Starfire ultimately failed to resonate with buyers and became one of Oldsmobile's more forgettable models of the era. The 1976 Ford Elite was a luxury coupe designed to compete in the personal luxury car market, but it ultimately fell short in several key areas that made it an underwhelming offering. The Ford Elite was a large and heavy car, which contributed to its poor performance and handling. Weighing over 4,000 pounds, it was sluggish and didn't offer the kind of agility or driving enjoyment that buyers might have hoped for in a personal luxury vehicle. The design of the Elite was seen as old-fashioned, with long, sweeping lines and a bulky appearance that didn't match the sleeker, more modern styles emerging during the mid-1970s. It failed to capture the attention of buyers looking for something fresh and contemporary. Due to its size and weight, the Elite suffered from poor handling. It had a tendency to wallow and feel unresponsive in corners, making it less enjoyable to drive. The car's suspension, while designed for comfort, contributed to its floaty ride and lack of precision on the road. The Elite was underpowered for its size, with the base engine being a 351 cubic inch V8 that produced only moderate power. Even with available larger engines, it still struggled to provide the kind of acceleration and performance that buyers expected from a luxury coupe. Like many cars of the era, the Ford Elite was a gas guzzler, with its large V8 engines contributing to poor fuel economy. This became a significant drawback during the mid-1970s, as the oil crisis made fuel efficiency an increasingly important consideration for car buyers. As the automotive industry began to shift towards smaller, more fuel-efficient cars in response to the oil crisis, the Ford Elite's large, heavy design and poor fuel economy felt out of step with the times. While the Elite was marketed as a luxury vehicle, It didn't offer much in terms of premium features or advanced technology. The interior, though comfortable, was fairly basic and lacked the high-end finishes or innovations that buyers expected from a personal luxury car. The Elite was essentially a rebadged and slightly upgraded version of the Ford Torino, which didn't help its cause. It didn't stand out in any meaningful way and lacked a unique identity to separate it from other midsize Fords, leading many to view it as little more than a dressed-up Torino. Due to its bloated design, poor handling, and lackluster performance, the Ford Elite didn't resonate with buyers. It was overshadowed by more stylish and better-performing competitors in the personal luxury segment, leading to disappointing sales. The Elite was only produced for a few years, from 1974 to 1976, before being replaced by the Ford Thunderbird, which was better received. Its short production run is a testament to how poorly it was regarded. The 1976 Ford Elite was a misstep in the personal luxury car market with its bloated, outdated design, poor handling, and lack of performance. It failed to offer the luxury style or driving excitement that buyers were looking for, resulting in low sales and a quick phase-out from Ford's lineup. Its gas-guzzling nature also made it poorly suited for the economic realities of the 1970s, further sealing its fate as one of Ford's less successful models. Number 3. The 1970 Chevrolet Monte Carlo was introduced as a personal luxury car, aiming to offer a blend of style, comfort, and performance. However, despite its initial success, it had several significant drawbacks that made it a disappointing choice for some buyers. The Monte Carlo was a large car, tipping the scales at over 3,500 pounds. Its size and weight worked against its performance, making it sluggish in terms of acceleration and overall handling. While it was supposed to offer a sporty luxury experience, its heavy frame made it feel more like a cruiser than a nimble sports car. Even with available V8 engines, the Monte Carlo's weight hampered its performance. It struggled to deliver the kind of speed and excitement that buyers were looking for in a sporty coupe, leaving enthusiasts underwhelmed. The Monte Carlo, like many cars of its era, suffered from poor fuel economy. With large V8 engines ranging from 350 to 454 cubic inches, the car was a notorious gas guzzler, particularly problematic during the 1970s as the oil crisis loomed on the horizon. While the Monte Carlo was launched before the full effects of the oil crisis hit, its poor fuel efficiency became a liability as gas prices rose and buyers started looking for more economical cars. The Monte Carlo's appetite for fuel quickly made it less attractive as the 1970s progressed. Due to its size and weight, the Monte Carlo's handling left much to be desired. It felt unresponsive in corners, and its suspension, while tuned for comfort, resulted in a floaty and disconnected driving experience. Buyers who were expecting a sporty, performance-oriented ride were often disappointed. Compared to other cars in the personal luxury segment, the Monte Carlo was slower to respond and lacked the agility that more performance-focused buyers were seeking. While the Monte Carlo had a clean, classic design, it was somewhat conservative and didn't have the bold or aggressive styling cues that were becoming popular in the muscle car and luxury car markets. This lack of distinctive design made it blend in rather than stand out. The Monte Carlo was marketed as a personal luxury coupe with some sporty pretensions, but its overall appearance and performance didn't fully live up to that promise. It wasn't as flashy or aggressive as competitors, making it less appealing to those who wanted a car with a stronger visual and performance identity. Despite being available with large, powerful engines, the Monte Carlo didn't fully capitalize on its performance potential. The heavy body and soft suspension made it feel more like a full-size sedan than a muscle car or high-performance coupe. For buyers who expected a sportier experience, the Monte Carlo was often a letdown. Although the Monte Carlo shared engines with muscle cars like the Chevelle SS, it never achieved the same level of performance or excitement. It was more focused on comfort and style than raw power, which alienated some performance enthusiasts. The 1970 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, while initially popular, suffered from several major drawbacks that hurt its long-term appeal. Its excessive weight, poor fuel efficiency, sluggish handling, and conservative design all worked against its promise of being a sporty luxury coupe. Though it had some positive attributes, such as a comfortable ride and a stylish interior, it failed to deliver the kind of performance and excitement that many buyers were hoping for, leaving it overshadowed by more exciting and dynamic competitors in both the muscle car and luxury markets. Number 2. The 1975 Chrysler Newport was a full-size luxury sedan that, while spacious and comfortable, had several significant flaws that made it unpopular and impractical, especially during the fuel-conscious 1970s. The Newport was massive, even by full-size sedan standards of the time. Its large body made it difficult to maneuver, especially in tighter urban environments. Parallel parking, navigating through traffic, and handling in general were all challenges due to its sheer size. The car's large proportions were seen as outdated, particularly as the industry began shifting towards more compact, fuel-efficient models in response to the ongoing oil crisis. The Newport's enormous footprint made it a relic of a past era when bigger was better. Despite being equipped with large V8 engines, the Newport's performance was underwhelming. The weight of the car, combined with emissions controls and the detuning of engines during the 1970s, meant that it didn't deliver the kind of power and acceleration one might expect from such a big vehicle. Even the optional 400 or 440 cubic inch V8s felt sluggish. The Newport struggled to provide strong acceleration, and its engine felt overburdened, trying to move its immense weight. For a car that was once part of the powerful land yacht tradition, it was underwhelming in terms of speed and performance. One of the biggest problems with the 1975 Newport was its terrible fuel economy. In an era defined by the oil crisis, when fuel prices were rising and consumers were becoming more conscious of efficiency, the Newport was a gas guzzler. With its large V8 engine and heavy frame, the car was lucky to get around 10 to 12 miles per gallon. As consumers shifted towards smaller, more fuel-efficient cars, the Newport's terrible fuel economy made it an impractical choice for many buyers. The gas crisis underscored just how inefficient and out of touch these large luxury sedans had become. The size of the Newport also made it a challenge to drive. It had a long wheelbase and a heavy body, which led to slow, unresponsive handling. It wasn't suited for sharp turns or any kind of spirited driving, making it feel more like a boat on the road than a nimble car. Due to its massive length and width, parking the Newport was a nightmare in many situations. It simply didn't fit into many standard-sized parking spaces, and even when it did, maneuvering it into those spaces could be a frustrating experience. By 1975, the Newport's design felt dated. While Chrysler had attempted to keep it modern, the large boxy body and chrome-heavy exterior looked out of place in an era where cars were beginning to adopt more aerodynamic and compact shapes. It lacked the sleekness and modernity that newer models from competitors offered. The Newport's styling didn't appeal to younger buyers or those looking for something fresh and contemporary. It seemed stuck in the past, appealing only to those who still favored the old-school American luxury car experience. The 1975 Chrysler Newport was a victim of its time. Its enormous size, underpowered engine, terrible fuel efficiency, and cumbersome handling made it impractical during the fuel crisis of the 1970s. While it may have provided a comfortable and spacious ride, its outdated styling and inefficiency made it less desirable in an era where buyers were increasingly looking for smaller, more economical vehicles. The Newport became a symbol of excess and inefficiency, quickly falling out of favor as the automotive industry moved towards more modern, fuel-conscious designs. Number 1. The 1974 AMC Javelin marked the end of an era for this once promising muscle car, which had seen better days earlier in its production run. By the time the 1974 model rolled out, the Javelin had lost much of the excitement and performance that made it a contender in the muscle car scene. In its early years, the Javelin had respectable power and performance, but by 1974, it had become slower and less impressive. The power was reduced due to the new emissions regulations and the detuning of engines to meet stricter environmental standards. The available V8 engines, which had once delivered thrilling performance, now felt sluggish. While earlier models offered higher performance engines like the 401 cubic inch V8, the 1974 Javelin's engine options didn't pack the same punch. The base 304 cubic inch V8 didn't have the power to compete with rivals like the Mustang or Camaro, leaving the Javelin behind in the muscle car race. The 1974 Javelin had become heavier over the years, with more emphasis on safety and comfort features. This added weight affected the car's handling, making it feel less nimble and less exciting to drive. It struggled to deliver the kind of sharp handling that buyers expected from a muscle car. Muscle cars are supposed to offer thrilling driving experiences, but the 1974 Javelin had lost its edge. With less power and poor handling, it no longer delivered the excitement that enthusiasts craved. By 1974, the Javelin's design was starting to look outdated. While it still had a distinctive shape, it had become bulkier and less aggressive than earlier versions. In contrast to the sleek, sporty designs of the Mustang and Camaro, the Javelin's styling didn't stand out anymore. Earlier Javelins had a bold, muscular look, but the 1974 model had softened in appearance. It lacked the aggressive, head-turning design that was so important to the muscle car market. The 1974 Javelin was released during the oil crisis, a time when buyers were looking for smaller, more fuel-efficient cars. The Javelin's V8 engines and heavy frame made it a gas guzzler, which was a major drawback in this era of rising fuel prices. As the muscle car era was coming to an end, and manufacturers were focusing more on fuel efficiency and smaller cars, the Javelin's large, powerful engine and low fuel economy made it less desirable. It simply wasn't what buyers were looking for at the time. The Mustang and Camaro had set the standard for American muscle cars, and by 1974, both had evolved to better meet the needs of consumers, offering more appealing performance and styling. The Javelin, however, failed to keep up with these competitors in terms of both power and design. It was seen as a slower, less exciting alternative. As a result, the Javelin couldn't compete in the marketplace. Buyers gravitated toward the Mustang and Camaro, which still offered the performance and excitement they expected from a muscle car. By 1974, the AMC Javelin had lost much of the power, handling, and aggressive styling that made it a strong competitor in the muscle car market. Weakened by emissions regulations and the changing automotive landscape, it was outperformed by rivals like the Mustang and Camaro. Its heavier, slower design, combined with poor fuel efficiency during the oil crisis, made it a less desirable option for buyers looking for both performance and practicality. As the muscle car era faded, so did the Javelin's appeal, marking the end of its run as a serious contender in the segment.